So in this particular session, we have the domain experts also who have a good business knowledge, hand-to-hand business knowledge, who are basically already running in many industries like manufacturing industries, operational industries, okay, pharmaceutical industries, financial industries, and other things. Okay, and their industries are basically working on the different technologies. Different technologies means they are basically using different softwares, okay, to run their industry. Software may be SAP that we will be focusing in this particular workshop, or the other softwares that we have in the market, that is Oracle, okay, which is also a good software, or the BAN. Okay, these BAN, okay, when I'm saying BAN is basically a software which is basically used in the olden days. Okay, that is basically the first ERP software that has a high competency in the market, but later it was basically overtaken by SAP. Okay, specifically in the supply chain module, SAP has a very good stand. Okay, and there are not many other technologies, or you can say the software that the companies are working, and these domain experts are basically working on those particular technologies. This particular workshop is basically giving a focus area on what is basically SAP. I'm not going into the definitions of SAP, and I think you already know what is SAP all about. Just in case if you are very new to the SAP, okay, you can raise the hand and then I can basically connect on that part. Okay. So for me, SAP is basically a software that is help you in performing your business day-to-day operations, and also it will help you in performing the strategies. Okay, strategies means when you have a lot of data that is running in your organization, okay, then they basically pick those data in order to perform some certain set of intelligence, artificial intelligence, data mining, data sciencing, and based on that, we can basically drive to some conclusions related to the strategies. Okay, what will happen if I do this? Okay, we have a lot of data, we have seasonal demands. Okay, Diwali is coming and we have a lot of seasonal demands. We have a seasonal demands on the Dhanteras also. We have seasonal demands on the Pongal also. So what is this? This is basically the data that is floating in the system, and based on that data, I'm taking my decision. Okay, so somewhere we should have a very complicated softwares, okay, in the market who can handle these data. Okay, and that is why in the market specifically, I'm emphasizing on the word specifically for the supply chain management, SAP has a dominance in the market. Okay, SAP, what is SAP? It is basically a German company that was started by 5 guys, I believe, who were initially working in IBM. In 1972, they basically thought of to work, okay, to set up one software for ERP. Now, what is this ERP? I'll come to. Okay, so they basically built this software, okay, in 1972 and name it as SAP. SAP has a very strange name in German. Okay, I may not able to pronounce, but you will find those pronunciation and the naming on the Google also. But in simple English, it is kind of system data processing, system application in data processing. Okay, so that is what the SAP full form is, but German name is something else. Now, what is this workshop is all about? It is just to give you the fundamentals of what is basically the material management. It is basically meant for the people who are very new into the industries, or who want to basically seek their career into the SAP material management world. Okay, why only material management? Because this is a stepping stone for every consultant who is basically, or every domain expert, or the freshers who are basically aiming to get their career into the consulting world of SAP. Okay, so in SAP we have the consulting world. We call it as a consulting world because we have a lot of basically discussions and with the customers, and we basically propose them the different solutions related to the business. We understand their language and we speak in their language. Okay, what is their industry is? If they are basically working for the pharmaceutical industry, they will not give the example of Maruti or Tata Motors. They will give the example of pharmaceutical company, and they will explain you the complexities of the pharmaceutical companies. And you, being as a consultant, you should able to understand that requirement, that these are basically talking about the pharmaceutical company, and I am as a domain expert as well as the system expert. Okay, I can able to answer those questions, okay, in their language. Okay, by giving their examples, by giving the examples which is more relevant to the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, So this workshop is just to basically set up a base, okay, that what are basically the material management, what are the different processes that we have in the material management, what are the different jargons, okay, the definitions, the jargons that we have in the material management. And believe me, this is basically the stepping stone for any consultant who are aiming to basically push their boundaries into supply chain modules, okay, because this is the mother of, you can say, plus those who are from the computer background, C++ language is basically the mother of all language. And this material management is basically the mother of the supply chain part, where it is basically deals with the many you can say activities related to the buying, selling, purchasing, not selling, but buying, purchasing, and managing of material in the warehouse. Okay, so let me go into this. Okay, so the agenda, okay, for today is basically basic. I'll start with the basic, and then I will gradually increase the little complexity part of it, okay, or maybe some definition part of it, or the in the business process also will come to those business process. What are the different business process in the material management? All will basically park in the upcoming sessions, but today's session is just to give a very high level vanilla flavor of what is material management and what is the use of this material management, what is this material management all about. Okay, we will discuss on this particular part. You can see somewhere we have something related to the ERP, and this is basically the main point that we should able to understand, that why SAP basically evolved, okay, on this ERP concept. I'm not going into the definition of the ERP because I know that you are very good. Everyone is very good in reading these definitions and other things over the internet. Let's directly come to what is ERP. Okay. Anybody knows what is ERP? Anybody wants to give one or two liner over here? What is ERP? High level only. Okay. Even though it is not that correct, it is perfectly fine, but at least you have attempted for this. As per the understanding, anybody know what is ERP? Anybody wants to attempt? First of all, my voice is audible to everyone? Yeah, I'm talking to myself. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Anybody wants to give?
Yeah, I'll do. So ERP is basically stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and ERP is actually is a suite of business applications which the organization is used to streamline their business processes, day-to-day business processes. Like if you take any organization, for that matter, they say a production company, so they'll have different departments, right? They have the sales department, they have the procurement department, then they have the production departments, human resources, and so on. So they have their different business processes. So in order to streamline and manage their processes, they use the ERPs.
Perfect. Perfect. Your good name?
My name is Sandeep Nitin.
Sandeep. Okay, perfect, Sandeep. Thank you. Thanks for explaining this. So yes, as what Sandeep have said, this is what the ERP is all about. Okay, so let's try to understand. Okay, ERP again. So E stands for the enterprise. Now, what is this enterprise? The different businesses that we have in this world. Okay, it could be the manufacturing business where we are manufacturing the Maruti Suzuki or Tata Motors or Mercedes-Benz truck or Mercedes-Benz also. Okay, so we have different enterprises. We have basically, we are manufacturing the medicines starting from Moderna, that is basically helped us during the Corona times, to any crossing company also, okay, who is manufacturing the crossing. So any enterprise, okay, different type of companies that we have in this world who are running different operation, that we call it as the enterprise. Okay, what is resources? That what all resources that we are running under those enterprises means, if I am basically into the supply chain management, then I have a resource which is more technical, who basically knows how to how to manufacture a car. If it is a car manufacturing company, there will be the HR also. Okay, there will be the something who are from the purchasing side also. Okay, there are some laborers also, there are some warehouse management operators also. Okay, there are CEO also, there are CXO also. What are all these? These are basically the resources who are working in the organization. Okay, and then what we have, suppose we have the financial companies also, look like big banks and other things. What they are doing, they are managing the financial cash flows, inflows, outflows. Okay, these cash flows are also working on the other organizations also, irrespective of whatever the organization you're running. Okay, because cash, paisa, that is the main thing. Okay, to run any business. So we have the resources. We have the resources in form of cash. We have the resources in form of products also. I have a company known as Maruti Suzuki. I have the resources who are there to recruit the people. I have the resources who are technical in manufacturing the car. I have the people who take the strategies and the decision. I have the laborers and the helper who basically keep my place clean. Okay, then I have the money to manage all those things. But all those things I'm managing, I'm basically, my main business is basically to to sell the products, okay, to the customer. Okay, how I will be delivering those products? I will be delivering the product via some way of logistics, and the transportations and other things are also involved. So in those, there are multiple vendors who are basically have different freight and the transportation services. So I have to basically manage out which one I have to select at which particular date I have to select out of 3,000 vendors, which one I have to select. Okay, when I have to select all those things, and when I have to deliver all those things. Okay, so the time is basically most important. Time, money is one of the most important thing. So in any enterprise, we have the resources. Okay, the different resources we have in form of labors, in form of human resources, in form of time, in form of logistical activities, in form of material activities, in form of cash flows or the money activity. This is all the resources we have. Okay, consider only the bank. It is easy that in the bank we have the cash flows, though there are a lot of tricks that we have to work on. Okay, we also need the computers and the infrastructures and all those costs that also come under the resources. But consider for the supply chain, where you have all those resources, money, material, logistics, time, everything is there. Is it easy for us to manage all those things? Consider Tata Motors. Okay, Tata Motor is not basically one company which has the plant only in Pune or only in Ahmedabad or only in Delhi. It has basically the plant all across the India. Also, you can say some part of it on the other name, it is outside of the India also. Okay, so how you are managing all those things, okay, in one go, how you are taking the decisions based on this particular data, that is basically what the resource part is. Okay, and how we are planning those resources. Okay, we are also using some of the other you can say extended part like IoT, okay, internet. uh, then we have SAP also, data science also. Okay, we have something on the cloud. These are basically the add-ons that we have given on the resources to collect and filter out the data using the data science, data engineering to take the decisions. Okay, this cloud is basically something to reduce the infrastructure cost. I do not want to set the server. Okay, I always want that I should reduce my server cost. Okay, the server cost is somewhere around in lakhs and crores also. Okay, sometimes depending on the SAP, what kind of SAP we are building. Okay, so just to reduce those costs, I just want that I can put everything, my data over the cloud. Means I am using iPhone. Okay, some of the iPhone I can put it in my memory card also. Okay, I can purchase that additional memory card of 64 GB. That is additional cost I'm putting. Even in the iPhone or any mobile, there are the basically price variance from 1 GB to 10 GB to 40 GB. Okay, so same thing we have. Okay, in the infrastructure also, in SAP world or in the ERP world. So if we want everything to be moved over the cloud, okay, we can move our pictures and all those things over the cloud in the phone also. Same way we can move the data over the cloud. So what we are doing, we are just reducing the infrastructure cost. IoT is basically just connecting with the machineries, okay, automations, robotics, all those things basically work on this IoT. Okay, so these are the extended part in the resource management planning that helps. Now we have the enterprise, we have the resource. Where is the planning? So the planning is basically managing all those things all together. Okay, so we have this planning. So all the HR related activities, okay, will be come under the HR management, where anyone who is getting recruited in the organization, their entire payroll management system and their you can say employee ID and everything is basically getting captured in the system. Okay, when he joined, when he basically leaving, what is the PF and all those things. Okay, all the enrollment processes, background verifications, where he worked. Okay, all the history you will get it. okay, in the HR management. Then we have the financial and accounting, which is basically majorly taking care of the cash inflow, outflow, borrowing, okay, asset management, and also the investment that we are doing. Then purchasing is basically specifically related to the buying and selling of goods, okay, purchasing from the multiple vendors, which product I want to buy, how much quantity I want, when I want to buy, okay, all those things basically comes under the purchasing part. Then the warehouse is basically storing of goods. I'm just manufacturing Maruti cars, but where I have to store it up, okay, it is not something that I'm manufacturing on the other hand of the, on the warehouse, the people are standing in front of the gate to buy those things. No, we have to store it somewhere, okay, we have to manage those things somewhere. We have a limited space, okay, on those limited space, how I can basically make the things more efficient, that is basically taken care by the warehouse. Then the sales and distribution, where I have to connect with the customers, I have to do the marketing, okay, and when the customer comes in, then what are the different follow-up methods that we have, okay, and then what is the basically the costing on which we are selling the product to the customer, at which cost I basically purchase the material from the vendor, what is basically the profit between buying and selling. Everything is basically captured under the sales and the distribution, which market we have to target, what is the trend of that particular market, okay, as I said, Maruti cars or the selling and the purchasing the cars are more, you can say, efficient during the Diwali time or maybe Dhanteras time or some other times also, okay. So this is basically the trending that we set under the sales and distribution, so that we are already prepared that what we have to do, and we can do our planning well and efficiently in those cases. And the production, okay, production means the same, I'm giving the same example that I want to manufacture the cars, okay, so when I should manufacture it, okay, with which capacity, how many labors or the technical staffs or the expert I need to manufacture the car, how many people should be there on the shop floor, what is the assembly lines, okay, what all equipments that we required at the assembly lines to manufacture a car, everything is basically planned under the production. So this all, the thing that we have over the screen, this is basically taken care under one software, which we call it as SAP. There are other software also that manage these things also, but as I said, SAP has a dominance in the market to basically specifically work on the supply chain part. Oracle is basically have a good stance on the financial, okay, Oracle, and one product from the Infosys is also have a good hold in the market from the financial point of view, but SAP is best in the supply chain. And this is basically, it is look very easy to see on the screen. Oh, we have people, we have cash, we have material, we have time, we have vendors, we have delivery partners, but it is very difficult, okay, to manage it without any proper system. You will find many systems, but those systems should be efficient enough or competent enough to manage the data. I tell you one story that in 2011 I was working with Micro Ingram, okay, the data that they have, okay, it is, I would say 50 times higher than the Amazon data at its peak time, okay. After implementing, you can say, one software, ERP software, it got crashed within 5 minutes, okay, because it could not able to handle that software could not able to handle the amount of data that Micro Ingrams basically works on. It basically do inbound and outbound flows, okay, high amount of inbound outbound flows. Consider DHL, consider Blue Dart, consider Amazon. If what happens if Amazon basically shut down for 30 minutes, okay, it will lose lot many orders, okay. So same thing is basically there are the companies where the inbound and the outbound. What is inbound? When we are receiving the material in the warehouse or in the plant. What is outbound? When I want to send the material to the customer, that is outbound. So these are the two definitions that we generally use in the supply chain, inbound and outbound, okay. So there are the organization who are working so heavily with the data and the throughput means this inbound and outbound flow is so high in those organizations. Within 5 minutes of implementing a software, the software got crashed, and we got a comment from the company that we could not able to handle this much amount of data, Okay, so you can see that what amount of data the industries, the enterprises are basically playing up with. So there should be the efficient system, the competent system, okay, in the market who can handle those data and convert those data in more efficiently in order to take the strategies, okay, which is basically beneficial for the company future perspective, and also to handle the current complexities of the enterprise or the businesses in which that company is dealing with. That is basically the story, you can say, or the small definition of ERP. Okay, enterprise resource planning. And to run these ERPs, we have different softwares in the market. It is not only SAP that is running, there are multiple software also, but as I said, SAP has a dominance in the market. In this particular, you can say, the sessions, I will be majorly focused on this particular part, that is purchasing side. Okay, now what is purchasing? Anybody knows what is purchasing? Or the purchasing has another name in the SAP world, that we call it as the material management. Material management was the old name, okay, in the SAP world, but the new name that we have given to it after using S4HANA. Anybody knows what is S4HANA? S4HANA. Yep. Hello? So anybody knows what is S4HANA? All knows what is S4HANA. Anybody here who don't know what is S4HANA, it is purely fine if anybody don't know, because this session is more specifically meant to have a understanding of this. I'll not go into the technicality of it, but very high level I can tell you that SAP has basically moved on from the it's basically moving from the old classical, we call it as the classical ERP systems. Okay, this is what the classical ERP we call it as. And the classical ERP is basically the old softwares that we are using in the SAP. Still, many of the organizations are still using those old software, but SAP have basically put a lot of efforts, money, okay, in order to transform themselves from the old system to the new system. And this new system, we call it as the S4HANA. Here the speed is very high. Here you do not need you are not basically dependent on the infrastructure, where you have to basically set the servers, okay, to start using SAP. Now you can basically use SAP using the SAP cloud also, this part. Okay, SAP is also connected with the machine learning languages, okay, to connect with the automated lifts, robots, okay, drones. All those things are basically connected with SAP these days. Okay, so everything is basically now easy or making more, you can say, powerful using the S4HANA system. This is a new name that is given, okay, where the database is also get changed to handle large amount of data. And we have basically come up with the Fury applications. So what is this Fury application? These are the beautiful screens that is designed by the SAP to make the user more friendly. Okay, on the Fury application, we will only see those information which is more relevant for us. There could be a case that when you basically get into the SAP, okay, to punch a purchase order, to buy any product, okay, on Amazon. If you go to the Amazon, you buy any product, what all information you will see? There are very basic information that you see, okay, on the front end, with a lot of pictures, a lot of information, reviews and other things. What is this? These are basically the application that is developed. But the back end is basically some big servers that are running. Okay, so these beautiful screens, we call it as in SAP also have not developed these beautiful screens, and we call it as the Fury applications, where you can only show those information to the user which is more relevant for him or her to take the decision to buy the product, okay, or to punch the information, or to create the purchase order in the system. What is this purchase order? Other things, I'll come to that. Okay, so as I said, the main focus in this particular sessions will be majorly on this purchasing side. Okay, so purchasing is also known as the material management. Okay, because the entire under the material management, we have a concept known as the purchasing. How you purchase the material from the vendor, and how you will store the material, okay, in the plant, not in the warehouse but in the plant. So it has another name, okay, that has been given by the SAP under the S4HANA system. We call it as sourcing and procurement. Okay, this is what the new name that is given to the material management module in SAP S4HANA system. In the old system, it is still known as material management, but in S4HANA, it is known as sourcing and procurement. Anybody knows what is material management? Very simple. Okay. It is a process. I'll just go with the definition because it's hardly one line definition that we have. It's basically a process of planning, organizing, and controlling the flow of materials, okay, and supply within the organization. Now consider one example over here that I am basically working in Tata Motors, okay, and I have been given a task to create one truck. Okay, so this is the truck that I have to manufacture. So what all things that is required to manufacture this truck? Okay, I basically need some spare parts. Okay, spare parts like I need the wheels, I need the steering, I need some many other things like axles and other things. Okay, headlights, seat covers, everything I need. Okay, and I also need the main part, that is engine. Okay, so what is this? This is basically the spare parts. Okay, I will always basically procure the spare parts or buy the spare parts from the vendor. Okay, so I will always give them the order to to provide me these all information and then send those information to my warehouses. Okay, so this is my warehouse. There they will send the information, sorry, send the goods to me, okay, at my warehouse. And this engine, what I will be doing, I will be producing this engine in my assembly shops, okay, or in the production house. So these big organizations like Maruti, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Tata Motors, they have the production house where they will be manufacturing the engines, and also they are assembling those engines. Okay, sorry, so those trucks. So once the material is available in the warehouse and delivered by the vendor, then I will bring all these materials to the shop floor, okay, or at the assembly lines, and then I will combine engine and all those spare parts and then manufacture this particular product. So in this particular case, where the material management is, the material management comes into this particular area, that is buying and purchasing. Okay, both are the same thing, buying and purchasing. So what we are purchasing, we are purchasing the product from the vendors. Okay, so that is basically the purchasing part. What is this? This is basically manufacturing part, and for the manufacturing we have a separate module in the SAP ERP system. I'm again saying SAP ERP so that you can correlate that ERP. In the ERP, when we are manufacturing anything, it comes under the word known as production. Okay, purchasing comes under the material management, where I am managing the material, how much material I have to buy, okay, with whom I have to buy, at what cost I have to buy, when I want that material in my warehouse. I should not plan anything. No, 6 means for next year I will not start planning. I may start planning, but I will not start planning for the product that I need, okay, 5 years down the line. Okay, because I have to manage the inventory also. I have a limited space, okay, in my plant. I cannot basically keep on planning and just filling my inventories with all those unnecessarily items that I do not require as of now. So my planning should be very efficient. Okay, in those cases, that I should only buy those products that is required as of now. Okay, so that everything comes under the material management in those cases. Means buying, where you are buying the thing or buying or purchasing. Then inventory management. So what is under the inventory management? That when the material will come up, okay, at what time it will come up, okay, what is the space I have in my warehouse, okay, all those things I will basically manage under the inventory. Under the inventory, there is another part that we basically do, which is basically the physical inventory. Now what is this physical inventory? Physical inventory is basically a kind of audit that we do, okay, once in a year, or 2 times in a year, or basically every month also, depending on the type of material we are using. Okay, if the material is very expensive, okay, in those cases we basically count those materials every month or every 3 months or something, depending on whatever the timeline that we have set. Like you have gold, okay, you kept gold in your way, in your house. So I generally do not, nobody basically count those golds and the things, but consider a case that that is basically the most expensive item in your house, okay, as compared to the other items like grocery items or the kitchen items, okay. So what you will do, you will keep it separately, and now you will keep on counting those gold also. After 3 months, you will check whether my gold is basically in the safe, still it is safe, or something is basically misplaced or something. So anything that is misplacing in this expensive item have a huge impact on your inventory and the valuation, okay. And so suppose you have already identified that I have 5 set of gold with me of gram 50 each, okay. 3 months later, you just basically check the gold again, and you see that out of 5 there were only 3 gold, three set of golds that I have of 50 gram each. Then you can see that how much valuation you have lost. It could be a theft, it could be anything, okay. But you have to continuously count the thing in your inventory just to identify that your valuation of the inventory, the company valuation, okay, what is the current state, means the share markets and other things are running on those valuations also. So the valuation of the company is basically should not get impacted by doing the wrong counting in the warehouse, wrong counting of the quantity of the product. So we have the physical inventories for these things. So everything comes under the material management, means buying, with whom I am buying, when I have to buy, okay, what is the selection of buying, at what price I have to buy, okay. Then the inventory part, okay, how I have to manage the inventory in the warehouse, okay, what is the most optimum way to manage the inventory in my warehouse, and what are the other activities, ongoing activities, inventory activities that I have to perform, okay. So all those things comes under the material management, okay. And that this is what this definition is all about, that the planning, organizing and controlling the flow of materials, okay, and supply within an organization, okay. So I purchase a material from the vendor, but that vendor, sorry, I purchase a material from the vendor, okay, and this material is basically required. So I have purchased the steering wheel, so this steering wheel is basically required in the production also, okay, to manufacture a car. So what I will do, I will purchase it from the vendor. So this is my vendor with whom I have purchased it, and then I have sent it to the production storage location, okay, a different storage location, or the location where the production activities, the car manufacturing activities is going on. So I'll send to those areas. So what is this? Buying and sending to the other department, or transferring to the other department where there is a need of that particular product, or you are storing that in the inventory, so that after 2 months when the production will get started based on the seasonal efforts and other things, those materials can be picked up from the inventory and then start the production for those things. There are the type of companies who are basically used under the trading part. So what these companies does, or the enterprise does, they basically buy the material from the vendor, okay. So this is your vendor from where they buy it at a very competitive prices, okay, put their label on it, okay. I'll just put any label on this, and then they do a good packing and then send it to the customer, okay. So suppose they buy it at 100, they sell it at 150, and then the total profit over here is basically the 50 that goes to the company. So such kind of trading activities is also available. So in this case also the purchasing is there. If you go to any bank doesn't only work on the people, they also work on the infrastructure also, what all computers they are procuring, okay, what are the infrastructure, server cost, AC cost, everything, okay. Everything is basically comes under the material management. So that is why this material management is one of the most important module to understand that what is this supply chain is all about. And then from there, once you get an understanding of this material management, you can easily opt other modules also, like warehouse management or transportation management, as per what is your domain expertise is, okay. So coming to this, so this is basically the material management, okay. So this material management has its own flow. Every module, or every, you can say, this material management or purchasing has its own purchasing cycle, okay. If you are going to the warehouse management, okay, or working in the warehouse, so warehouse has its own cycle, process flow. If you are into the finance, the finance has its own cycle. Cycle means the process flow, when you are receiving the materials or receiving the cash, when you are issuing the cash, what is general ledgers and all those things. In the material also there is a procurement cycle, we call it as, and this is basically the base step to understand the material management process. This cycle that I'm not talking about, this is basically the base step of the process. Without this procurement cycle, you will not able to understand that what is material management. These 7 step is basically the standard step that almost all the organizations who are working on the material management, they are using. Okay, now what is this purchasing cycle? So the purchasing cycle, or what is this purchasing all about? So in any organization, as I said, okay, like given an example of Tata Motors. So I'm not working in Tata Motors, okay, just for the example I'm giving you over here. So in the Tata Motors, we have no different department. One department is basically specifically used for production, where all the production activities are going on. One department is basically HR, where their main work is to recruit the people, okay, best talent on the ground. One department is basically logistics. So anybody have visit Tata Motor, you will see there are a long list of trucks that are standing outside the Tata Motor. Okay, what is this? This is a logistics company who are supplying the material, or who are basically issuing the material to the customers also. So there is a logistics company, there is a material management department, also a purchasing department. What this purchasing department does, they basically talk to different vendors. Okay, within this purchasing department, there are the different purchasing groups also. Purchasing group depending on what type of material I'm buying. So for the Tata Motors, so to buy a product, or to buy a car, or to produce a car, there are different type of materials that is used. Okay, not one material. And the different type of material have the different price range also. Price range. Okay, if I'm buying a nut and washer, it is of category C, A, B, C, D, E, F, something. Okay, if I'm buying something known as AC components, or very maybe the engines also directly, I'm buying the engines, like you can see the conglomeration between the Maruti and the Toyota. So they basically buy the engine. Okay, I think, and some calibration they do. The Toyota does some calibration on it based on the hybrid models, and then sell it into the market. Okay, so depending on what is the different price range of each and every product, we have a different purchasing groups. Okay, I am very senior. I am already there in the industry since 17 years. I'm doing the purchasing, and I'm not expert how to handle the vendors, how to negotiate with them. Okay, so my company will give me a higher price range product to negotiate it with the vendor. So these, and there is a newcomer who is new into the market, who doesn't have much experience, and he will basically join the purchasing organization. Under the purchasing organization, he will be working under the groups where the price range of the material is either the average or low, because he's new. Okay, so any small negotiation, okay, in this particular area where the price of the material is low, doesn't pay much impact, though it pays. Okay, so somebody from the purchasing, they will hold my collar, no, this is not something like this, there is. Okay, but the main focus is basically for the organization is on the expensive part also. Any change, okay, any small negotiation or any push in the negotiation can basically bring a huge price difference in this. So that's why we have different purchasing group depending on the different products that we are dealing with to negotiate with the vendors. Okay, so that's why we have a different purchasing group. So in this Tata Motors, this particular department is specifically dealing with buying the products from the different vendors. Okay, so when we are buying the product from the different vendor, okay, or buying the product from the vendor, there is a cycle that we have. Okay, with this cycle, we call it as the procurement cycle. How to start the negotiation, how to start the you can say the requirements and other things with the vendor. This is what all we will be getting explained in this particular cycle. Okay, I know many of you have already known this cycle. Okay, and this is somewhere it's little, you can see it boring also, but that is fine. This is basically what the sole base of the material management is, that you should know what is this all about. So it starts from the requirement gathering. Okay, to understand the requirement, then identify the resources, then select the resources. Once the resources are basically selected, then perform the order, means give them the order, and once the order is given, you have to follow it up. Okay, and then once you follow it up, and when the material reaches, you will receive the material in your inventory, and then once you receive the material in the inventory, you will perform the invoicing. You will send the money to the vendor. Now let's have a detailed part of it. Okay, so very first part is basically under the material management is the requirement gathering. Now this requirement gathering, we also call it as the material requirement planning. Okay, so there is a team of planning experts who basically plan the materials. What is basically the requirement of material in month of November? Oh, November is basically Diwali month. We basically need more materials, okay, to plan it for Diwali. Okay, because that is a seasonal change, okay, in the market, and a lot of people basically happy to buy cars and other products. Okay, so that is basically what the planning all about. Okay, you have to do the planning, which material you have to buy, what is the requirement. Okay, I'm working in the Maruti and there is a short of material, so I have to plan it up. It should not something that the material gets short and you are just sitting idle and waiting for the vendor to deliver the material after 2 months or 2 weeks. Your production will not stop, your machinery will not stop or should not stop. Okay, so in those cases what we do, we keep on planning the things. We keep on plan the materials. Okay, what all basically materials we will be requiring now or we will be requiring in future, that comes under this material requirement planning. So what is there? So in this material requirement planning, there are two type of planning it does. Okay, one is the external procurement planning. Now give understand this jargon, that is external procurement planning or the purchasing is where you are just dealing with the external vendors. Okay, I want a spare parts, I want the headlights, I want the axles, okay, of to manufacture a truck or the tractor. Okay, I want a tire. For tire, what I will do, I will basically purchase the tire from the either from the Goodyear or Apollo tires or Seat company. I have a lot of vendor. Okay, so I'll not manufacture anything on my own. Okay, I have the things available for this. Okay, already a good quality materials are available by the vendor, so I only need to negotiate with them. Okay, like 1,000 tires I want, so there could be a good kind of negotiation I can. I want to buy the headlights and other things. For this, I will be doing the external procurement. So you have to understand that what all things you are buying from the outside or which all things you are manufacturing inside. Have you ever seen that the Tata Motors for the, sorry, a Toyota car for the Fortuner or the Range Rovers and other things, they are procuring the engines from outside from some other companies? No, they manufacture the engines on their own. They know what is there the limit, what is the scope of purchasing the things from the outside, and what is the scope of basically manufacturing the things inside. There should be some small items also related to the hybrid car, because they have now having a good stand in the hybrid market. Okay, so even the small you can say the spare part which is not there in the market, and they have the competency or a specialization in the market, they will manufacture internally also. And everything they will plan under this material requirement planning when they want the material. Okay, what is the timeline that they have to look for those materials? Everything is basically work under this material requirement planning. So in this material requirement planning, we will first understand that what all materials we require. Okay, so you can see this is a SAP screen, and under this SAP, we will go into those screens, okay, when I discuss on the material master data. So in this SAP screen, we have the information related to the material. What is the material, what is the material name, okay, in which unit of measure, whether it is a kg or pieces or other things in which we maintain this material. So first of all, we have to identify which all material we require under the material requirement planning. Whether I want to procure it from the outside world, means from the not outside world, sorry, from the vendors. Okay, or do I need to manufacture it inside the warehouse or inside the plant only? Okay, so based on that, we basically do the planning. And planning is basically done on the forecasting also, that what is the future forecasting. Our company is basically spending expensively on the automation or the in the robotics, and they are basically just doing a lot of marketing, spending a lot of things on the marketing, and we are expecting that there should be a spike in sales and other things. So what is this? This is all planning that we are doing. So from where I'm getting this marketing data? I'm getting this marketing data from this sales part. Okay, this part. So this is all interconnected with each other. Okay, so I'm getting this marketing data, okay, or the seasonal data, everything I'm coming, getting from the sales part, okay, the forecasting and other thing. So based on this, okay, we do the planning. It is not an easy job for the domain expert who are basically, sitting in the industries and working on this particular department. There are a lot of tools that basically support, okay, taking those decisions. Okay, so that is basically where we identify that which all material we required and when we required under the requirement gathering phase. Then once the requirement gathering is finalized, we freeze that what all material is required, whether those materials are basically procured externally or we want to manufacture it internally. Once this is decided, then we go to the next phase, that is source determination. I want to buy a steering, or as I said and given an example that I want to buy a tire, okay, for my truck. So there are many vendors that is available in the market also, and we have already done past purchasing with some of the vendors, and their records are already available in the system. So first of all, what I will do, I will open a system instead of just running my thoughts, okay, and searching on the internet. First of all, I will look if my company is using any system. Yes, my company is using any system where they basically maintain all this information. So I will get into the system first, enter the material that I'm looking for, that is tires of size 30 by 20, okay, and look for that how many vendors are available in that, who have against which we have done the past purchasing. So I will get the list of all those vendors against which I have done the past purchasing. So this information we will find out using the source list in SAP system. We call this concept as a source list, means a book of vendors information, okay, against which we have procured this material, only one material in the past. Okay, so that kind of information you already have. So instead of just going on the Google or running in the market, first look that with which all vendors you have done the past purchasing, because those vendors you have selected based on certain criterias, okay, and they are basically coming under your negotiation bucket and all those things. So that's why you have basically done the past purchasing, and based on the past purchasing also you are able to understand that how well the vendor is, what is the quality of product they have delivered, at what time interval they have delivered it, whether they have basically keep the delivery time in mind and other things. So there are no different factors through which you can select these vendors instead of just going and looking for the fresh vendor from the outside. If there is something, a new material which you have not basically manufactured before, then in those cases you can check for the vendors that are available in the market, and you will always go to the quality vendors in those cases. So this is basically the source determination. Once you identify the material, then you will identify that which all vendors basically deals in providing those materials. Okay, then so this is basically in SAP screen, we create a source list also. Okay, kind of records that we have in the SAP system or any ERP system, in which we give the validity also, that this vendor is available from this to this date, and they basically deal in this particular material under this particular plant. What is plant, other things I'll come to that. Okay, but which all vendor basically deal in providing this material, all those information you will get in your system also. Then third thing is that once you determine that what are the different vendors that are against which we have done the past procurement for this particular material, that is tire, okay, then you will do the vendor selection. I have 5 vendors. One is Seat, one is Apollo, one is Goodyear. What else? Okay, many other tires company. Okay, I'm not able to recall, but suppose there are now 4 or 5 vendors that you have identified in your system against which you have picked those materials or bought the material. Now you have to do the vendor selection. Now, as I said, that the vendor selection is basically not an easy task, that 5 people are basically appearing on the screen, or 5 vendors are appearing on the screen. You just do A, B, C, D, or just akkad bakkad bambego and you have selected it. No, it is not that easy. Okay, there is basically a lot of evaluations that we do while selecting a vendor. Okay, like in the Amazon, when you basically buy a new product, what all things you will see? First of all, the pricing you will see, then you will see the reviews, okay, and the specification, and what is basically the based on the reviews, past reviews, you will be able to understand, to get the complete history of that particular vendor. So what you are doing the vendor evaluation also. Okay, same thing in the corporates or in the industries, the purchasing team, they basically do the vendor evaluation. So vendor evaluation, they basically do on the basis of pricing. So they do on the basis of pricing. Pricing is the first thing. Okay, if the price comes in, as per your bucket, if those no limits are coming, you will basically negotiate with them. You will consider those them as no. Okay, then the second is the quality of the product, whether they have delivered the quality product in the past or not. Based on that also, you will basically consider the vendor. Then the delivery, what was the delivery for the vendor, whether the delivery was on time as what they have committed or suggested, or there are a lot of follow-ups that we have to taken in the past to get the material on the ground. What type of services they have, okay, whether they have good services, very quality, CMM level 5 company that is running on the processes like Debbie Schenker, Merck's. These are the best logistics company that we have, or the vendors, not vendors but the logistics company, but you can say vendor like any good vendor like Goodyear. Okay, they have the CMM level 5 companies. And no, whether they can, and the quantity also very important is the quantity. Can they entertain 5,000 quantities? I want 5,000 quantity in next 2 weeks. Can any one vendor can fulfill my demand? I'm not very sure. Okay, so these are the vendor selection criteria based on which, or the vendor evaluation criteria on which I select the vendor. It is not as easy as you think of to select any vendor based on the price. There are no different ways or the criteria on which we select the vendor. Okay. There is another thing, as I said, on the quantity basis, I need a 5,000 quantity in next 2 weeks. Can any one vendor can provide it? No. Okay, because the quantity is very high. So what I can do, I can do the quota arrangement also. Okay, now what is this quota arrangement? This quota arrangement comes into the picture. Generally, we take it into the picture when the quantity is very high. In that case, we do not depend on one vendor, but we basically distribute the quantity between the different vendor. And how we distribute the quantity depending on the criteria of the vendor. So like if I'm giving vendor 3 as 50, means it has a competency to manufacture 50% of the tire, means 1,500 tire it can manufacture. Also, the price, quality, delivery and the service range of this vendor is comparatively better from vendor 1, 2 and 4. So this is another way to select the vendor in the material management, that is a quota arrangement. And all these concept, vendor evaluation, quota arrangement, okay, source list, master data, these and material planning, these are available in SAP system also. I'm not something talking out of the box over here and just the theory part. It is, these things are also available in SAP system that we will see. Okay, then once the vendor, this is the last point I will basically discussing today, and then we will continue this flow tomorrow with some system screens also. So once the vendor gets selected, then what I will do, I will send them the order. Okay, I understand the product on the Amazon. Now what I will do, I will send the order to the vendor. Okay, so there are different ways in the industries, okay, to send the order. What are those ways? You can send the purchase requisition also. Purchase requisition is basically kind of the internal requirement. Once you have the internal requirement, so forget this. Purchase requisition is basically kind of this internal requirement only. Okay, you have 5 vendors, you will basically send them the ask for the quotations. Okay, boss, all the 4 Seat tire, Apollo tire, Goodyear tire, give me the quotation for 5,000 quantities. Okay, and give me good quotations. Okay, give me good discount, else I will neglect your candidature in the selection procedure. Okay, so they basically send you the quotations, okay, with the different price range and other things. Then what you will do, once you receive the quotation from 5 different vendors, you will compare the quotations. Okay, which one is good out of these? Okay, what is the pricing part, which pricing part is good for us, and all those things, which payment terms are good for us, and all those things. You will basically compare these quotations from the different vendors. Okay, once the quotation is basically finalized, then you will basically send them the order. And this order, which we call it an in SAP system or any ERP system, whether you go with Oracle or BAN or Manhattan or any other, we call it as a purchase order only. So this purchase order is basically the legal agreement that we are setting between the vendor and the buying company. Buying company means the Tata Motors, and the vendor could be your Seat tires or Apollo tires or MRF or any other. Okay, so it is a legal, you can say, order that we are setting between the two companies. Okay, if I am giving any legal order and they have already started manufacturing the things, they will procure the raw materials also, right? And then they will start manufacturing the things, and after 2 weeks I said, oh boss, I do not want the material, actually my material is fulfilled, then he is gone. Okay, so that is a legal, you can say, agreement that we are setting between the two companies, that if you do the cancellation, then this is the pricing that you have to pay for the cancellation. All those things are basically mentioned in this purchase order. Okay, there are many other things that is there in the purchase order, but try to understand at this particular point. Okay, so this is a legal agreement. This is one of the most important agreement that is set between the two parties, the buying and the selling party. There are certain contracts also, okay, that we can create. This is also an order processing. I do not want to go into the purchase order, but I want to go into the contract. Okay, boss, I want to set a long-term contract with you. I only buy the product from your company. Okay, give us the best price. They will give you the best price, and then you will set a contract for 1 year that in what all materials we require, we will purchase from you. Okay. So like in the educational institute nowadays, now every other companies, they are basically setting up the contract with the institutes, okay, to hire the people and other things. Okay, so that is also kind of contracts. If you go to the MBA colleges, you will find, okay, first lot is basically by this company, second visit will be done by this company, third visit, and college will get the money of it sometimes. So this is what, these are the contracts that we are setting. Okay, so this is basically the order processing. So order processing will only come when you done the vendor selection, and when the vendor selection will come, when you have, you know, what all the vendors that are available in the market. Okay, why you need the vendor? Because you need the demand, you have a demand of the material. How you get the demand? You get the demand by the internal discussions in the organization amongst the different department, that which department need which material for which particular purpose at what time. Okay, so this is basically the procurement, half of the procurement cycle. Okay, so still you can see this is something that is left. Okay, follow-ups and other things, so that we will basically discuss in the next session, that is tomorrow. Okay, so I'll just stop over here because I know I respect your time, that you guys also have some commitments, okay, in this weekday. So I'll just stop this session here, just in case you have